Grand plan begins too. Itachi had not stayed with Great Red for long. Though the dragon's teachings had granted him new power, the time had come to move forward with his plans. He felt a nagging instinct deep within him that leaving Great Red on his own was a bad idea, but he had to go to Kuo City, as it was where the next step of his plans would take place. As he stepped out of a dark alley, his sharp eyes caught sight of a commotion ahead. A blue-haired woman was scolding a blonde one with fierce energy, berating her for using their money on a fake painting. Itachi didn't recognize their names, but he knew that this trivial exchange was from the anime and involved main characters. Great Red's paw. With a white smoke, the transformation was complete. From a menacing dragon that could shake the heavens to the form of the fourth Raikage, Great Red reveled in his new appearance. His powerful muscles, enhanced by chakra manipulation, now gave him a less intimidating presence, but it was the change in his demeanor that was most striking. Gone was the wild, impulsive beast. Now, he was a disciplined figure, a shadow of what could pass as a warrior in human form. Emerging from the darkness, Great Red stepped into the view of a surveillance system, though his enhanced speed and power made it a mere formality needed for shock points. He looked back at the ninja summoned from the Thunder Village with the help of the system by Itachi, 100 of them. With a sly grin, he activated his thunder body technique he had learned, electricity crackling around his form, amplifying his already formidable power. But in truth, he was not using the thunder armor at all. The reason was simple. He couldn't learn it so easily. He was just using lightning to cover his body. So why was he so fast and powerful? The answer was simple: he was the dragon of dragons. His speed, even in human form, was that of lightning, and his dragon body was even stronger than the Raikage. He moved and punched. The force was almost palpable as he punched the air, cracking the barrier that protected an old building. Boom! The barrier shattered into nothingness as the structure itself trembled. Behind it stood a grand palace, its ancient walls belonging to the remnants of the old Satan faction, the final stronghold of their power. Great Red stepped forward, confident in his mission, his aura radiating dominance. As he entered the building, his ninja troops followed in formation. Yet, as soon as they crossed out of the magical surveillance's range, they vanished. The system had teleported them back to their village, leaving no trace behind. This was all part of Itachi's plan to fool the supernatural world and gain shock points. Great Red couldn't generate shock points, but if he used summoned characters from the system and the supernatural believed they were involved, then he would surely gain shock points in exchange. Inside the building, the battle began. Devils of all ranks stood in their way, but Great Red, now in the form of the Raikage, was a force of nature. His punches sent shockwaves through the walls as he crushed all in his path, even the two direct descendants of the Devil King. But he hesitated. A devil named Katrine attempted to flee, and Great Red let her go, just as Itachi had instructed. She would be important in the story they were weaving, an unwitting messenger. The rest were not so fortunate. Great Red's hand was merciless, and blood painted the walls. He obliterated anyone who dared to challenge him, a rampage that tore through the stronghold. With each kill, he carefully placed broken headbands and torn cloth around the bodies to ensure that it would be seen as a devastating losses on both sides. He also used blood tubs given to him by Itachi to leave a blood mark on ground for supernatural world to research on. When the building had been reduced to rubble, and his enemies lay dead, Great Red knew the next step was at hand. He teleported straight to the underworld, knowing full well what awaited him. He would kill Lilith, the mother of devils, directly. Itachi had not shared the full details of her role in his plans, but her presence was a threat he could not afford to ignore. If she were truly the cause of Ophus's power being halved, or something even more dangerous, she had to be removed. His action was based on Itachi's half-knowledge of DxD, as he had only watched 4 seasons of the anime. Great Red, now stripped of his transformation, no longer needed to play the role of the Raikage. He was simply a force of destruction. Without hesitation, he killed Lilith with brutal finality, shattering her body without a second thought. It was an act of caution. He couldn't afford to let the Devil's Mother live. He then hunted down the rest of the troublesome factions. Hero faction members were swiftly wiped out, leaving only their leaders alive as a testament to the chaos he had wrought. The leaders of the vampire factions met the same fate, and even the fallen gods and evil dragons were not spared. Sephiroth Grawl was also brought back, and unknowingly, he killed one of the main characters, Valerie Tepes, whom Itachi had no idea was important. Blood flowed freely as Great Red's power rampaged through the supernatural world without being noticed. even transforming into the leaders of various ninja villages from Naruto and showing up with armies of hundreds to kill supernaturals and collect shock points. His brutal path left the world in disarray. Devils, fallen angels, and gods alike were reeling from the shockwave of his actions. By the end of it, the death toll which should have not crossed 2 digits reached 5-digit figures. The supernatural world was on the verge of collapse, and 5 ninja villages had become symbols of destruction. His actions had completely destroyed the DxD timeline, and now Itachi had to pull off something extraordinary to realign it, at least for the Excalibur arc, Kokubile arc, and Peace Talks, in which Itachi will stage his grand death at the hands of his younger brother. Grand Plan Begins 3. As he stepped out of a dark alley, his sharp eyes caught sight of a commotion ahead. A blue-haired woman was scolding a blonde one with fierce energy, berating her for spending their money on a fake painting. Itachi didn't recognize their names, but he could tell this trivial exchange was a familiar scene. It had come from the anime, and these two were main characters. The blonde girl, her face flushed with frustration, waved her hands in defense. It was an honest mistake. I thought it was real. The blue-haired girl narrowed her eyes. You always think that, but it's always a mistake. You have no sense when it comes to art or spending money. Itachi, observing quietly from the shadows, began walking toward them. The air felt tense between them, but before he could process further, the blonde girl looked up and noticed him. Her eyes widened when she saw his face. Hey, aren't you? She began, her voice trailing off as her expression changed. The blue-haired girl followed her gaze, her posture instantly becoming more alert. She took a step back and placed her hand on her weapon. You're the red-eyed human. Hearing that, Itachi's stance stiffened, and his expression darkened. Who had given him that name? A faint, almost imperceptible killing intent radiated from him. The blonde girl, rather than recoiling, stepped closer to him, her eyes still curious. So you are the one everyone is talking about. You're human, right? So why not join the church and serve God? It seems like you have the potential to become a holy sword user, just like us. Itachi could feel her breath on his face, and his natural instincts screamed at him to push her away, but he resisted. He sensed someone approaching and got the feeling they would intervene. A white-haired girl appeared, stepping between them with speed and precision. Kaneko. Her cold eyes locked onto the blonde girl, her voice firm and unwavering. He will not join the church. Issei followed closely behind Kaneko, along with Genshiro, Kiba, and Ravel. The unexpected presence of Ravel caused Itachi's eyes to narrow. She shouldn't be here, not in this time. Her appearance here was impossible, yet there she was, her eyes glancing toward him nervously. Itachi glanced at his hand. He summoned Zetsu from the system, who was responsible for controlling that ultimate class devil who had tried to kill Devil King. The black substance seeped from his palm, a small pool of inky blackness that crawled down his arm and toward the ground. The substance slithered through the earth, heading directly for Ravel. The blue-haired woman, after hearing what Kaneko said, stepped forward, her eyes sharp as her hand reached for the sword at her side. Stay away from him, devil. He will serve God, not devils like your master, she warned Kaneko, her tone sharp and protective. The tension in the air thickened. But Kaneko didn't flinch. She stood her ground, her small form resolute. I won't, she said simply, her voice carrying a quiet but unshakable force. Issei, trying to defuse the situation, awkwardly stepped in between them. Guys, can we all just... Both of them ignored him. Meanwhile, Zetsu entered Ravel's body without her knowing and began accessing her memories. After some time, he emerged and re-entered Itachi's body. She was sent here to learn chakra and train with you. And not only her, Riser, Latia Astaroth, and Diodora are also here. Not just them, but Saraorg wanted to come too. However, Lord Bale stopped him, saying he would bring shame to the Bale family, Zetsu said in his sinister voice. They've been here since your fight with Lord Phoenix. And because you were not present in the town, Satan himself asked them to enroll in the academy as students, he added, his tone dripping with malice. Itachi's mind blanked out, and only one question came to his mind. Who the hell are Saraorg, Latia and Diodora? And that Bale, was it a name or a surname? He could recognize them. He could if he saw them, but one thing he knew for sure was that the plot of DxD was completely messed up. Looks like you need to start your grand plan sooner than expected, Black Zetsu said in his evil voice, chuckling slightly. Kaneko Pav 1. Kaneko sat by the windowsill in the Orc clubhouse, her small frame bathed in the glow of moonlight. Her cat-like eyes stared into the vast nothingness of the night, her thoughts consumed by a single name, Itachi. His presence had shaken the supernatural world to its core. The wielder of chakra, an energy more profound and potent than senjutsu itself. A mysterious sacred gear that not only cast illusions but also boasted immense offensive and defensive capabilities. "You're thinking about him again, aren't you?" A familiar voice broke through her thoughts. Kaneko turned to see Rias Grimori, her crimson hair cascading over her shoulders, standing nearby with a knowing smile. "Yes," Kaneko admitted bluntly, her tone neutral, though her eyes betrayed her curiosity. It had been days since their first meeting, and her emotions were still in turmoil. She couldn't shake the way she'd acted in front of him. Seeing him had stirred something deep within her, memories and feelings tied to the Nekomata incident. She suspected he might be connected to the tragedy, perhaps even benefiting from the experiments done on her race. But if that were true, why would he have given her evidence proving her sister's innocence? Why would he provide the truth behind her race's near extinction? Rias walked over and leaned against the windowsill, her expression softening. "You're not the only one. Itachi has left quite an impression on everyone. Even my brother, Searsex, seemed intrigued by him." Kaneko frowned, her ears twitching slightly. 14 days. He said he'd teach us about chakra, and yet, nothing. "Patience, Kaneko," Rias said gently. "The exchange between the underworld and his faction is still underway. Itachi will return once all resources have been transferred, as per the agreement." Kaneko glanced at her king, hesitation flickering across her face. "Rias, when you spoke to your brother about him, did you mean it? Did you want him for yourself? Was it romantic, or do you just want to add him to your peerage?" Rias chuckled softly. "Oh, Kaneko, you know I love Issei. But there's no denying Itachi's strength, and his mystery." Her tone grew serious. "But what about you? Why are you so fixated on him?" Kaneko looked away, her tail swishing lightly. "He's different. From our very first meeting, things didn't go well because of my emotional outburst." She paused, then continued, "Even knowing it was him who provided the evidence about my sister's innocence and the truth behind what happened to my race, part of me wanted to deny it. It meant my hatred for my sister was useless. When I first tried to understand how he could use senjutsu, no, chakra, I attacked him. Out of nowhere." Kaneko lowered her head, shame creeping in. "And I got hurt. I know I was in the wrong, but I wanted to test his power. Seeing how effortlessly he defeated me with chakra, I felt something. Attraction," Rias offered, raising an eyebrow. Kaneko hesitated but nodded slightly. "Maybe. It was like senjutsu, but denser, 10 times more potent. When he used that red cloak, my feelings grew stronger. I was in heat," Rias finished bluntly. Kaneko's face turned bright red as steam seemed to rise from her head. I know it's strange, but our race seeks strong mates during that time of year. And somehow, Itachi triggered that in me. I just don't understand why I feel this way about a human who isn't even a Nekomata or Yukai." Before Rias could respond, the door opened, and Akino entered with her usual grace. "Still talking about Itachi?" she teased, a sly smile gracing her lips. Kaneko's ears turned even redder, and she muttered under her breath, "If this continues, I'll turn into a tomato." "You're not alone, Kaneko," Akino said, sitting elegantly on the couch. "Even I can't stop thinking about him. That confidence, that presence, it's intoxicating. And that lightning attack he used against Graphia. It was unlike anything I've ever seen." Rias rolled her eyes. "Are we all going to sit here and obsess over him? Issei will surpass him in strength soon enough," she said proudly, referencing to the future Red Dragon Emperor. "It's not just about strength," Kaneko said, her voice firmer now. "There's more. During his battle with the Phoenix clan, he used abilities beyond anything possible with senjutsu. Black flames, even Lord Phoenix seemed hesitant to confront them, despite his immunity to fire. And then, when they disappeared," she looked at Rias, searching for answers. "Rias, you mentioned he had a powerful backing. What did you mean?" Rias hesitated before sighing. "He's connected to a hidden human faction. My brother spoke of them, a group operating in the shadows of the supernatural world. They wield chakra, and their influence is larger than we ever imagined. Itachi isn't just a rogue human, he's part of something much bigger." The room fell into a heavy silence. "A hidden faction?" Akino finally asked, her voice laced with curiosity. "Humans capable of using chakra, an energy stronger than senjutsu? That doesn't seem realistic to me. Maybe a few of them can use it, like that woman Itachi showed us. If she's part of that faction and even stronger than him, then this group must be incredibly dangerous." Kaneko clenched her fists. That's why I need to find him. I need to learn about chakra and figure out my sister's whereabouts. If they knows the truth about her, she might be connected to them too. Rias placed a reassuring hand on Kaneko's shoulder. We'll find him, Kaneko. He'll return to the city, and when he does, we'll get our answers. The red dragon awakened. 1. Just then the silence of the orc clubhouse was broken by the sound of hurried footsteps. Kiba burst into the room, his face dark and tense. President, he began, his voice clipped. People from the church have entered the city. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Rias, who had been lounging on the couch, sat upright, her crimson eyes narrowing. The church, she echoed, her tone sharp. Kiba nodded, his jaw tight. They're searching for something in the city. The room fell into an uneasy silence. Are they here to find Itachi? Akeno asked, her usual calm replaced with worry. We don't know, but they told me they would only speak to Rias or Sona, Kiba admitted, his fists clenched as memories of the events from a few days ago resurfaced. Rias stood, her commanding presence filling the room. Kiba, gather everyone. We're going to confront them, and I will make sure they do not cross the line this time. Flashback. After the events in the underworld, Itachi's strength and abilities had become a topic of heated discussion across the supernatural world. Rumors of his connection to a hidden faction wielding chakra sent shockwaves through every major power. Even the church, despite its fractured state, saw his existence as an opportunity. News of his presence in the city controlled by the Sisters of the Mao, though initially kept under wraps by Rias and Sona, had somehow leaked, prompting a team of human mages to infiltrate their territory. The orc, upon learning about the mages, rushed toward Itachi's room. Several mages adorned in robes marked with holy symbols were combing through Itachi's belongings. This is private property, Rias announced, her voice cold and authoritative. Her peerage stood behind her, tense and ready. One of the mages, a tall man with an air of arrogance, turned to face her. We are here on orders from the church. Itachi Uchiha is to be found and his abilities surrendered to the service of God. Stand down, devil. Rias's eyes flared. Itachi is under my protection. If you think I'll let you drag him into your schemes, you're mistaken. The mage's lips curled into a sneer. Protection. Do you think you are capable of protecting him? We all know why you want him. A devil's greed knows no bounds. Akeno stepped forward, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath her words. Leave, now. The tension snapped like a taut string. A spell was cast by the human side, its light blinding, and the room erupted into chaos. The mages were stronger than anticipated. Their holy magic clashed violently with the ORC's demonic powers. The air buzzed with energy as spells flew, crashing into walls and floors, leaving scorch marks in their wake. Kaneko darted through the fray, her small frame a blur as she aimed to incapacitate without killing. Despite her efforts, the mages, coordination and sheer numbers began to overwhelm them. These aren't ordinary humans, Kiba muttered, summoning multiple demonic swords to push back the attackers. Then, one of the mages stepped forward, a sacred gear wielder. The ring-like artifact glowed as a dome-like barrier expanded outward, encasing the entire battlefield. What is this? Akeno exclaimed, trying to summon her lightning, only to find her power unresponsive. The barrier nullifies magic, the sacred gear user said with a smirk. The mages drew firearms, their weapons blessed with holy enchantments. They fired without hesitation. Get down, Issei, already badly injured, shouted, throwing himself in front of Rias. She froze, surprised to see her power nullified. Bullets tore into Issei's body, the holy energy burning his flesh. Despite the pain, he stood his ground, shielding his king. Issei, Rias cried, her voice breaking. Kaneko's vision blurred with rage. She leapt at the sacred gear user, her fist striking with raw power. But without her senjutsu, her strength wasn't enough to break through the barrier. The mages took advantage of her distraction, aiming their weapons at her. A bullet grazed her arm, and she winced, retreating to Rias's side. They're trying to kill us, Akeno said, her usual composure slipping. I'm sorry, I should have taken action sooner, Rias replied grimly, realizing her decision to let her peerage handle the situation alone had put them all in danger. The mages advanced, their leader's voice ringing out. Surrender now, and perhaps we'll spare you after playing with you. The only reason they were in this state was because of the butterfly effect caused by Itachi. The plot, which was originally tailored for the main character, was broken, and characters who never appeared in the anime had now emerged. The Red Dragon Awakens 2. The tension was palpable as the orc stood trapped within the barrier, their powers rendered useless. Bullets rained down, blessed with holy energy, each shot tearing through the already destroyed room and striking with devastating precision. Issei stood at the forefront, shielding Rias with his own body. Blood seeped from his wounds, but his determination never faltered. "Issei, stop!" Rias cried, her voice filled with anguish as another bullet grazed his shoulder. Despite having the ability to kill him with one bullet, the human mages were not shooting at vital points. "I'm not letting them hurt you," Issei gritted through clenched teeth, his body trembling from the strain. A burst of light erupted as one of the mages fired a shot that struck Rias in the leg. She cried out, collapsing to the floor as the holy energy seared her flesh. "Rias!" Issei's heart thundered in his chest. His vision blurred with rage and despair. "She's hurt because of me, because I wasn't strong enough," Issei thought. In that moment, a voice echoed in his mind, a deep, ancient rumble that resonated with power. "Are you ready to fight, boy? Truly fight?" Issei's eyes widened. Who are you?" "I am the Red Dragon Emperor, DxD. And you, Issei Hyodo, are my host." The words shook Issei to his core. "But, I thought I was just a weakling, perhaps. But your human heart, your love for these devils you call family, has allowed us to connect. Also, you are lucky because of your small reserve of devil energy that I can use dragon power despite the barrier. Will you take my strength, or will you watch them die?" Issei clenched his fists, his resolve hardening. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect them. Then unleash me by giving up one of your arms and let the world know the power of the Red Dragon Emperor." Issei was in a state where he couldn't think and only wanted to protect his love. A surge of energy erupted from Issei, green light enveloping his body. The mages hesitated, their confidence wavering as they felt the shift in the air. From Issei's left hand, the boosted gear manifested, its emerald jewel glowing brightly. The aftermath destroyed the house completely. "What is that?" one of the mages muttered, fear creeping into his voice. The jewel pulsed, and DxD's voice echoed, audible to everyone. "I am the Red Dragon Emperor, DxD. Rejoice, mortals, for you face the wielder of the boosted gear." Boost boost boost. Empowered by DxD's energy, Issei charged forward, his body moving with newfound speed and strength. He slammed into the nearest mage, sending them crashing into the wall. But the humans were not done. One of the mages pulled out a weapon, a rifle loaded with glowing holy bullets. Fire! A volley of bullets rained down on Issei, each one aimed to kill. He raised his arm to shield himself, the holy energy burning through his flesh. Issei, Rias, Kaneko, Akano, and Kiba screamed, their voices extremely worried. Pain lanced through him, but Issei stood firm, his mind focused on one thing, protecting his friends. "Your resolve is admirable, partner," DxD said. "But if you truly wish to save them, you must push further. Sacrifice is the path to power. I will ask you again, do you want to sacrifice your arm for the power? Because after this, there will be no turning back." Without hesitation, Issei gritted his teeth and extended his arm. The boosted gear began to glow brighter, its shape shifting and expanding. Balance breaker. Green energy erupted around him, forming into crimson armor that encased his body. The balance breaker scale mail radiated power, its presence shaking the room. "Boost. Now," DxD's voice boomed, "show them the might of the Red Dragon Emperor." Issei roared, charging at the mages with unstoppable force. Bullets bounced off his armor as he tore through their ranks. The humans tried to retreat, but Issei's wrath was unrelenting. One mage fired directly at Rias again, their holy bullet aimed for her heart. Enraged, Issei intercepted the shot, his armored hand catching the bullet midair. "You hurt her," Issei growled, his voice dripping with fury. "Now you'll pay." With a single, devastating strike, he crushed the rifle and sent the mage flying. The barrier also shattered as the last mage with the sacred gear was destroyed by Issei's relentless assault. The orc rushed to Rias, her legs still bleeding from the holy wound. "It's okay," Rias whispered, her voice soft with a red blush. "Issei, you saved us." But Issei didn't respond. His body trembled, the toll of the battle and the use of balance breaker pushing him to his limit. As he collapsed to his knees, the red glow of his armor began to fade. After that, Issei was healed by Asia, who was crying the whole time as she felt that if she had been there, she could have healed everyone. "You don't need to cry," Issei said, and Rias nodded. "Yes, I am glad you were not there, Asia, because the church mages might have targeted you instead of me. After all, you are now a devil." Kaneko's Pav too, present time, Club room. Kaneko Pav. The air in the room felt heavy, almost suffocating. I stayed close to Issei, observing quietly as always. The orc members stood tense, their eyes fixed on the two women in white hoods standing across from us. The symbols of the church on their robes made their allegiance clear. "They're exorcists," Rias muttered, her voice low but sharp. Her crimson eyes narrowed, flashing with distrust. The taller one, a blue-haired woman with a frigid presence, stepped forward. Her voice was as cold as her aura. "We're here to ensure no devils meddle in matters of the church. The holy swords stolen from us must be returned, and we will handle this without interference." Her words struck like a blade. I glanced at Kiba, sensing his anger before I even saw it. His fists were clenched so tightly I thought he might snap. The mention of holy swords, it was a deep wound for him, one he rarely let anyone see. Rias's voice broke the silence, filled with restrained fury. "How dare the church accuse us of theft? It wasn't devils who took your precious swords. Yet here you are, barging into our territory, throwing baseless accusations." The blue-haired woman's cold gaze didn't falter. "Devils are always involved in treachery. This is no different." I flinched when Rias slammed her hand on the table, the sound echoing through the room. "The church has no right to speak of trust when it was your kind who attacked us unprovoked. You invade our city, our home, and you dare to act like victims. How can anyone trust you when you're the aggressors?" The second exorcist, a blonde woman with a hesitant demeanor, shifted uneasily but said nothing. The blue-haired one smirked, her confidence unwavering. "It doesn't matter what you say, devil. Your kind is always at fault." I glanced at Issei, knowing he wouldn't hold back much longer. Sure enough, he stepped forward, his voice loud and frustrated. "Hey, that's enough. You can't just blame us for everything without proof." The blonde woman's eyes widened when she saw him. "Issei," she whispered, her voice trembling with surprise. Issei froze. "Wait, Irina, is that you?" The room shifted, the tension easing slightly as the two recognized each other. Irina, so she was someone from Issei's past. But even this moment of connection didn't last long. The argument reignited, and soon it escalated beyond words. Kiba and Issei ended up facing the two exorcists in a battle. Kiba's anger drove him recklessly forward, but I could see it was clouding his judgment. Even with Issei by his side, they were outmatched. The exorcists were skilled, and the fight ended with both of them injured, forcing Rias to stop the fight. Back at the clubhouse, Kiba stood before Rias, his head low, shadows hiding his eyes. "President, I have a request. Please allow me to destroy those holy swords. They must be eradicated." Rias's gaze softened, but her tone was firm. "No, Kiba, I can't allow you to pursue this vendetta. This isn't just about you. We have a responsibility to maintain peace, and this mission could jeopardize everything." Her refusal cut deep. I saw it in the way Kiba's shoulders trembled, his fists shaking at his sides. He turned away, his voice barely audible. "Then I can't stay." And just like that, he walked out. Issei and I tried to find Kiba after that. We couldn't leave him alone when he was in this state. It was during our search that we ran into someone unexpected, Revel Phoenix. Unlike her brother, Revel seemed different. She was polite, even kind. She was also not like other high-class devils who came to Ku City with their own problems and attitude. "I want to help," she said with a gentle smile. "If Kiba is in danger, we'll find him together." Her sincerity surprised me. It wasn't something I expected from a sister of Riser Phoenix. Issei also invited Genshiro, who is from Sona's peerage. It took us hours to find him, and we decided to support him on his mission after hearing about the Holy Sword project run by the church. Just then, when everything was sorted out, I smelled something familiar and dashed out. I knew who it was, but when I saw him with my own eyes, my heart dropped. Issei's childhood friend was very close to him, and I mean very close. Issei said something on the side that I ignored, and I dashed toward him. Separating them, I exchanged some heated words with the blue-haired knight, and on the side, Kiba was also very angry and had to be held back by Issei and Genshiro. Seeing this, Itachi sighed and said, "We can talk." And we agreed to it. "So, let's go to the old church," he said, looking between Kiba and the church girls. "Grand plan begins 4. Itachi stood still, sighing as he stared at the chaos unfolding around him. This wasn't how plot were supposed to progress, at least not according to the original timeline he knows from anime. He knew his very presence in this world had changed the storyline, but to this level was unthinkable. Not to mention that Great Red was going wild. 456,000 shock points gained. 567,000 shock points gained. What the hell is he doing? Itachi thought. It's not even been an hour, and I'm getting this much crazy amount of shock points. Is the spread of information in the supernatural world this fast? His mind churned as he considered the consequences. Boom. Just then, his focus shifted to the battle happening in front of him. None of this was in the anime, he muttered under his breath, glancing at Kiba and Issei from afar. Their rematch with the Exorcists was not in the show at all. He didn't understand why this had changed. The tension between both parties was very high. At this rate, even that blue-haired girl, whose name he forgot, might not become a devil even after learning God is dead. Soon, the duel ended in a draw, leaving tensions high and frustrations even higher. It was clear Kiba's vendetta against the holy swords was consuming him, as there was an absolutely crazy look on his face. Itachi shifted his gaze to Kaneko, her small form lingering near him. She was full of questions, and he could sense them bubbling beneath her stoic exterior. Riser's sister was also near him, glancing at him from time to time with a slightly red face for some reason. Don't tell me beating her family caused something to awaken in her, Itachi thought and felt a chill run down his spine. After all, this kind of girl is the first sign of a yandere, he concluded, recalling those novels he had read in his past life. He completely ignored her for now and instead turned his attention to the two women standing in front of him with neutral expressions. See, Itachi, these devils are all talk against us humans who have divine protection from God. They are nothing, the blue-haired girl began to speak. Hey, you did not beat us. Issei shouted, while Kiba looked like he wanted to start fighting again. The blue-haired girl looked back at him and sneered. Oh really? We beat you before, and the only reason this time ended in a draw was because of your underhanded tricks. She turned to her best friend, who was blushing and covering herself with a white blanket after Issei perverted magic which destroyed her clothes. Yes, Issei, I did not expect this from you, she said angrily. I'm sorry, Irina, Issei replied with not a hint of shame. So her name is Irina, Itachi thought. Anyway, Itachi, you don't need to become a devil. If you want an extended life, the church has discovered a way. No, he will not join the church. We all know what kind of organization the church is. Kaneko shouted, stepping in front of Itachi. She gave Kiba a sad look. From his story, she knew the church was a rotten place. Who the hell are you, devil? The blue-haired woman snapped. What is your relationship with him? She crossed her arms and glared at Kaneko. Are you his friend, or do you want to use him? Kaneko flinched at her words. After she wanted to learn from him about chakra. But from the looks of it, how Itachi is silent around you, it is clear that he is not your friend. You are the weakest devil here, maybe even weaker than that loser, she said glancing at Issei. Oh, I know who you are, Zenobia said with a smirk. You're the sister of that stray devil, right? The one who killed her own master and left a weak sister like you in Underworld to die because she felt it wasn't worth killing you. After all, if you're this weak now, then when your sister killed her master, you must have been even weaker than a human child. Zenobia, that's enough, Irina interrupted, feeling sorry for Kaneko, whose face looked like she was about to cry. At this point, Itachi had enough of these stupid people trying to recruit him into their factions. Didn't they know how strong he was? And why was this blue-haired girl, Zenobia, acting so mighty despite being weak herself? All of her power comes from that sword, if I'm not wrong. Thinking this, he pushed Kaneko aside and faced Zenobia directly. I think we need to talk, he said, staring straight into her eyes. But unknown to Itachi, Kaneko looked at his back with tears in her eyes, feeling that he had come to protect her. To outsiders, it also appeared that way. Itachi's tall form shielded Kaneko behind him in a protective gesture. Grand plan begin 5. I have been silent for long. Do you think I am so weak that I will need protection from any of you? Itachi said, activating his Sharingan. The atmosphere became cold for some reason, as if one wrong move could kill them. Itachi was using Bloodlust, a technique he had learned from Great Red, and it was having quite an effect. Zenobia was unable to move, her legs were shaking, and she was drenched in cold sweat. This was obvious as Itachi, who was at the rank of ultimate class during his fight against Lord Phoenix, had grown multiple times stronger. Even if we added only the Indra chakra, he was at the level of a Satan class being now. Still weaker than the strongest devils, but with enough power to destroy a continent if he wanted. He had also learned many magical tricks from Great Red during his training. For example, Itachi moved his hand towards Zenobia, whose eyes were shaking like crazy, as if she were staring death in the face. Z, Z, Z. The sound of birds chirping could be heard all around the place. Itachi's fist was covered in lightning, but this was completely different from the lightning Kaneko, Kiba, and Issei had seen him use in the clubroom. The lightning was golden in color and was near her face. The next second, the lightning was gone. Itachi tapped her forehead and smiled. Try to learn how to have a respectful conversation. Maybe your friend can help you with that, Itachi said with a smile. Zenobia fell to the ground, her face completely red, muttering something that was definitely not human language. Zenobia, Zenobia, are you all right? Her friend rushed at her after Itachi lifted the pressure on them. All devils came to their senses and looked at Itachi with horror. They didn't know why, but it felt like the Itachi standing before them now had the power to crush 10 Lord Phoenixes with ease. That lightning in his hand sent chills down their spines. It was definitely something holy. A thought come to Kaneko's mind that maybe it was holy lightning, but it was impossible for anyone except angels to use it, and even then, maybe only 2 angels had the ability to wield it. So how could Itachi, a human, use holy lightning? The answer was known only to Itachi himself. The lightning wasn't holy at all. It was emitted by manipulating chakra frequencies, a technique he had learned under Great Red. It had all the properties of holy lightning, but if a wielder of true holy lightning used the same amount of energy, they would win since Itachi's technique caused a 1% energy loss. Anyways, I forgot why we were here, thanks to you guys. So, can anyone tell me what is happening? Itachi asked, looking at everyone. His eyes paused on Kaneko, whose fists were clenched as she stared at Zenobia as if she wanted to beat her up. Did my punishment not suffice? Itachi thought, feeling that he might have gone too far. As Zenobia was still shaking continuously, despite being consoled by her friend. Look, the poor girl isn't even able to stand. What more does Kaneko want me to do? Really, girls are vengeful and won't forget anyone who causes harm to them in any way. Itachi thought to himself. On the other hand, Kaneko was boiling with rage because only she could see what was happening to Zenobia, or rather, she could smell what was happening to Zenobia. Zenobia was wet down there, an act which in all angle is considered unholy in their religion. Grand plan begins. 6. So, you want to destroy the holy sword because of the project run by the church? Itachi asked Kiba, who nodded in response. Then, he turned to Zenobia. And you want to find the stolen Excalibur? Itachi questioned, to which Zenobia shyly nodded. This confused Itachi, but he decided to ignore it and closed his eyes. Using his life sense, an improved version of chakra sensing, he spread his awareness across the entire city. His chakra sensing abilities had surpassed Naruto's many times, thanks to the improvements he had made with Great Red. Life sense not only allowed him to detect a person's presence but also to calculate their power level, discern their state of mind, and he can all watch their every move from miles away. This ability was a combination of chakra, senjutsu, dragon energy, and spiritual senses, making it unparalleled. With it, Itachi could spy on anyone, save for the 10 strongest beings in the world, as they could sense his interference. The chakra within his body expanded and transformed into a more diluted state, similar to senjutsu. This energy began merging with the ambient magical energy in the air. Soon, a new wave of chakra was released from Itachi, which transformed into dragon energy. Masterfully manipulating the nature of chakra, Itachi refined chakra he released into dragon energy. This new energy amplified the earlier wave, expanding its reach across the city. Gradually, the dragon energy shifted into spiritual energy, connecting to microbacteria, plants, and even the unborn spirits throughout the city. At this point, Itachi observed the entire city in a third-person perspective. His view extended into the minds and locations of every person within the city. He even pinpointed the location of the stolen swords, seeing them with crystal clarity. This method was far superior to any sensing technique known in either the Naruto or DxD worlds. It felt as though he had countless eyes scattered across the city. Returning to his senses, Itachi opened his eyes and glanced at Issei, whose mouth hung wide open in shock. So, that dragon told him I used dragon energy. This will be interesting, Itachi mused, glancing at a notification in his system. 130,000 shock points gained from Issei. 5,780,000 shock points gained from the Red Dragon Emperor. He was not moved by the numbers at all. After all, the sheer number of points Great Red was accumulating was staggering, because of which Itachi remained composed. But deep down, he hoped that the dragon wouldn't disrupt his grand plan by altering the story too drastically. After a moment of thought, Itachi turned to the group and said, "Yes, the sword is here, but devils aren't behind this. I can help you recover the sword," he offered. "Really?" Zenobia asked eagerly, her excitement apparent. The devils exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of how to respond. Itachi then continued, "The help I'm offering is to train you. Whether or not you can retrieve the sword will depend on your capabilities." "Wait, I thought you agreed to train only devils." Ravel interjected, echoed by the other devils' murmurs of agreement. "Devils have no right to dictate who I can or cannot train," Itachi replied firmly. "I'll honor my deal to train you, but they will join as well." This declaration moved both Zenobia and Irina. The latter couldn't contain herself and jumped at him, hugging him tightly. "Itachi, you really are a great man. You're willing to train us even though you don't know us. Are you messengers of God or angel?" Irina said, her gratitude overflowing. Itachi allowed her to hug him, as he could sense through his life senses that her soul was the second purest in the city, second only to Asia's. Her intentions were entirely innocent. However, Zenobia quickly pulled Irina back, scolding her. Meanwhile, Kaneko and Ravel stared at Irina with expressions that seemed to suggest they wanted to join in as well. Itachi wasn't oblivious. He knew some of these girls harbored feelings for him. He could understand Ravel, as he had flirted with her during their first meeting. Kaneko might have been attracted to his chakra and her natural instinct to seek a strong mate due to her race. However, Zenovia's apparent affection puzzled him. He could only hope it wasn't for some ridiculous reason. Grand Plan begins 6. "So, you want to destroy the Holy Sword because of the project run by the church?" Itachi asked Kiba, who nodded in response. Then, he turned to Zenobia. "And you want to find the stolen Excalibur?" Itachi questioned, to which Zenobia shyly nodded. This confused Itachi, but he decided to ignore it and closed his eyes. Using his life sense, an improved version of chakra sensing, he spread his awareness across the entire city. His chakra sensing abilities had surpassed Naruto's many times, thanks to the improvements he had made with Great Red. Life sense not only allowed him to detect a person's presence but also to calculate their power level, discern their state of mind, and he can all watch their every move from miles away. This ability was a combination of chakra, senjutsu, dragon energy, and spiritual senses, making it unparalleled. With it, Itachi could spy on anyone, save for the 10 strongest beings in the world, as they could sense his interference. The chakra within his body expanded and transformed into a more diluted state, similar to senjutsu. This energy began merging with the ambient magical energy in the air. Soon, a new wave of chakra was released from Itachi, which transformed into dragon energy. Masterfully manipulating the nature of chakra, Itachi refined chakra he released into dragon energy. This new energy amplified the earlier wave, expanding its reach across the city. Gradually, the dragon energy shifted into spiritual energy, connecting to microbacteria, plants, and even the unborn spirits throughout the city. At this point, Itachi observed the entire city in a third-person perspective. His view extended into the minds and locations of every person within the city. He even pinpointed the location of the stolen swords, seeing them with crystal clarity. This method was far superior to any sensing technique known in either the Naruto or DxD worlds. It felt as though he had countless eyes scattered across the city. Returning to his senses, Itachi opened his eyes and glanced at Issei, whose mouth hung wide open in shock. "So, that dragon told him I used dragon energy. This will be interesting," Itachi mused, glancing at a notification in his system. 130,000 shock points gained from Issei. 5,780,000 shock points gained from the Red Dragon Emperor. He was not moved by the numbers at all. After all, the sheer number of points Great Red was accumulating was staggering, because of which Itachi remained composed. But deep down, he hoped that the dragon wouldn't disrupt his grand plan by altering the story too drastically. After a moment of thought, Itachi turned to the group and said, "Yes, the sword is here, but devils aren't behind this. I can help you recover the sword," he offered. "Really?" Zenobia asked eagerly, her excitement apparent. The devils exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of how to respond. Itachi then continued, "The help I'm offering is to train you. Whether or not you can retrieve the sword will depend on your capabilities." "Wait, I thought you agreed to train only devils." Ravel interjected, echoed by the other devils' murmurs of agreement. Devils have no right to dictate who I can or cannot train, Itachi replied firmly. I'll honor my deal to train you, but they will join as well. This declaration moved both Zenobia and Irina. The latter couldn't contain herself and jumped at him, hugging him tightly. Itachi, you really are a great man. You're willing to train us even though you don't know us. Are you messengers of God or angel? Irina said, her gratitude overflowing. Itachi allowed her to hug him, as he could sense through his life senses that her soul was the second purest in the city, second only to Asia's. Her intentions were entirely innocent. However, Zenobia quickly pulled Irina back, scolding her. Meanwhile, Kaneko and Ravel stared at Irina with expressions that seemed to suggest they wanted to join in as well. Itachi wasn't oblivious. He knew some of these girls harbored feelings for him. He could understand Ravel, as he had flirted with her during their first meeting. Kaneko might have been attracted to his chakra and her natural instinct to seek a strong mate due to her race. However, Zenovia's apparent affection puzzled him. He could only hope it wasn't for some ridiculous reason. Day end. The Great Red's returns. Itachi returned to his room after a long day. The night had already settled, and the town was loud as always. He had agreed to train them after school for 5 days. Looking at the system window with nearly 1 billion shock points shocked him to no end. Earlier, he had thought that to reach that number, he would need to fake his death and pull out all kinds of tricks he knew. But thanks to Great Red, who had gone overboard with the plan, he could do much more to further his plans. The task was to kill only hundreds, but he had wiped out nearly 40,000 beings and eradicated the old Satan faction, sparing only 2 of their leaders. His actions had sent shockwaves throughout the supernatural world, leaving no doubt about the strength and ruthlessness of the 5 great nations. As he sealed the room so that no one could hear their conversation, a heavy presence filled the space. Out of nowhere, a delinquent appeared, sitting casually in a chair with an almost bored expression. He was the Great Red, the Dragon of Dragons. You're here, Itachi said flatly, his tone betraying neither surprise nor concern. Of course, Great Red replied with a wide grin. How does it feel to completely destroy the plot? Itachi asked. What do you mean by that? Great Red replied with a smile. It was fun playing with children. So, it's fun to you. I think I gave you the list and asked you to only kill those people, but you've gone too far. Now I can't even predict where the story will go. Do you think that after the devils and other supernatural factions have suffered this much loss, the bird will sit still? He might just go to war with heaven and hell. Itachi opened his Sharingan fully, anger flickering behind them. However, before he could speak further, Great Red waved his hand, and a portal appeared beside him. Out of the swirling void, sacred gears began to emerge, one after another. True Longinus, Dimension Lost, Variant Detonation, Annihilation Maker, and others of similar magnitude floated into the room, radiating immense power. Not only that, but another portal appeared, and many powerful weapons fell from it. The dragon leaned back smugly, pointing at the collection. Your body can support 1 sacred gear, as is normal for humans. But, he continued, raising a finger, if you use them as weapons for your Susanoo, you can wield 2. Itachi remained silent, his piercing gaze locked on the artifacts. Great Red smirked. And if you trust me, if you let your body be remade using my flesh, you can handle 3. Before Itachi could respond, a red notification appeared in his field of vision, accompanied by a warning chime. Alert! The system will not allow any foreign being to merge with the host's body. System protection protocols will activate, which may result in host termination. At that moment, a small, cat-like avatar materialized out of thin air, its fur bristling with panic. Host, this is dangerous, the avatar exclaimed. The system cannot permit such an action. Allowing a foreign entity like him to interfere could kill you and permanently destabilize the system. Itachi glanced at the avatar, a faint smirk tugging at his lips before hiding it and replacing it with a confused look. I thought I shut you down. How are you appearing like this in front of me? The avatar straightened, its voice growing more formal. The system forcibly reactivated me to protect the host. For this emergency action, 10 million shock points will be deducted. Itachi sighed, his expression a mix of exasperation and amusement. I'm not taking his body offer anyway. I don't trust him. The avatar let out a visible sigh of relief. If that's the case, then the I will deactivate once more. But looking at your shock points, you can access all of my paid features which can. Okay, go away. You're eating my shock points, Itachi said. Okay, host. With that, the cat-like figure disappeared into thin air. Great Red's grin faltered slightly, his eyes narrowing in mock hurt. You don't trust me, after everything I've done for you. Itachi's sharp gaze met the dragon's. You're fooling no one with that act. Itachi thought to himself, wondering how this dragon could have such good acting skills. Seeing Itachi did not respond, the dragon's faux expression of heartbreak broke into a hearty laugh. Well, I expected this much from you because it's not even been a month since we met, you know. The offer stands. My flesh is pretty premium. Itachi ignored what Great Red was saying, instead walking past him toward the window. Looking out into the night, he spoke without turning back. I'll take all of them, Itachi said decisively. Great Red tilted his head curiously. All, but you can use only 2 at max. Itachi turned, his Sharingan glowing faintly in the dim light. I know, I will use only 2, True Longinus and Dimension Lost. The dragon chuckled again. A fine choice. But the last one is surprising. With that, Great Red leaned back into the chair, his form beginning to fade into a cloud of crimson energy. Itachi stared at the artifact. You know, you will be surprised for sure. Grand plan begins final. Itachi teleported to the Thunder Ninja village and opened his system interface. I want to summon characters from the Naruto world, he declared. A translucent window appeared before him, displaying a list of characters with their respective costs. After upgrading the shop, can I summon characters from Boruto as well? Yes, you need level 3 in the shop. Okay then, let's buy all the tailed beasts to reach it, he decided without hesitation. Ding, you have purchased all 9 tailed beasts. Itachi watched the points drain from his balance. Well, it doesn't hurt seeing more than 1 billion points disappear like that, maybe because they weren't collected by me, he mused. The reason Itachi spent so many shop points was simple. By acquiring the tailed beasts, he could not only become their Jinchuriki but also borrow their immense chakra reserves. With this purchase, his power had multiplied many times, and he was now confident he ranked among the lower end of the top 10 in this world. The tailed beasts appeared with a golden light in the village outskirts, their massive forms towering over the landscape. This world is strange, said Shukaku, the one tail, examining his surroundings. But it's full of strong beings. We'll need to stay alert. Kurama, the 9 tails, chuckled mockingly. Stay alert, who are you fooling, Shukaku? I can still fight any powerful being in this world. The number of beings I can't handle can be counted on one hand, but you might not even make the top 100. Or perhaps the top 1000. Shukaku growled, his massive form bristling with anger. What did you say, Kurama? The other tailed beasts began to back away as Shukaku prepared to attack Kurama. However, before he could act, Itachi appeared with a clap of his hands. Enough, Itachi said firmly. His Sharingan flared, and the sheer pressure of his presence silenced the beasts. You are free to roam this world, but do not destroy anything in my village. I need the scientific equipment here intact. Unwilling to challenge Itachi's authority, the tailed beasts dispersed to explore their new environment. Inside the Raikage's office, having upgraded the system shop to level 3, Itachi summoned Orochimaru, Kabuto, and Amato, Kara's most brilliant scientist, renowned for his intellect and innovation. The 3 men now sat before Itachi in the Raikage's office. Let's talk, Itachi began, his voice calm but commanding. After explaining their roles to them, Orochimaru leaned back, a sly smile playing on his lips. I never thought I would have these weapons to myself. But aren't you worried, Itachi? Without these tools, won't your strength fall? Itachi met Orochimaru's gaze without flinching. With the power of the 9-tailed beasts, I don't need them anymore. He turned to Kabuto. You understood everything, right? Kabuto adjusted his glasses, a faint smirk on his face. Yes, though I never imagined I'd be using the reanimation jutsu again. Itachi smiled faintly. This time, you'll need to take it even further. Kabuto's smirk grew wider. Understood. I'll surpass even my previous work and create an army of reanimated ninjas, devils, angels, beasts, and many more powerful beings just for you. Finally, Itachi looked at Amato. Your task is the most difficult. You need to create clones using white zetsu in large quantities. Additionally, you must integrate all the weapons, armor, and artifacts we obtained from the devils into them. On top of that, I want you to replicate the sacred gears and incorporate them into scientific ninja tools. Amato steepled his fingers, his expression calm and calculating. It is a difficult task, but I can do it without anyone's help, he said confidently. However, if you can provide me with a more advanced lab, I can complete the work even faster. Itachi nodded and summoned White Zetsu, instructing it to purchase cutting-edge equipment using the devil currency he had earned from the devils. You will get your equipment by the end of the day. But keep in mind, Orochimaru can assist you if you require it, Itachi added. Amato smirked. I won't need his help. Orochimaru chuckled, his voice dripping with amusement. Bold, aren't you? But I'd like to see how far you can go. As they concluded their meeting, Itachi stood and addressed the group. We have a lot to accomplish. Kabuto, start preparing your reanimation forces. Amato, I expect progress on the scientific tools soon. Orochimaru, merge those weapons quickly, and also keep an eye on the tailed beasts to ensure they don't cause unnecessary trouble. Unknown to them, their work would soon give rise to a force so powerful that even the chief gods of various pantheons would tremble, and human race will be recognized as one of the strongest. After all, who would not fear humans capable of summoning the dead back to life, wielding an army of nearly 500,000 at the rank of low and mid-class created by Amato, and Itachi possessing weapons stronger than both Divine Divide and Boosted Gear combined. Unfinished Deal 1. Next day, the training ground outside the lively city was filled with noble devils, all gathered under one man. The human who had defeated one of the strongest devils, the one known throughout the underworld and supernatural world as the strongest human, stood before them with his usual unreadable expression. His crimson Sharingan eyes scanned the gathered devils, their auras powerful yet undisciplined compared to his. Among those present were Rias Grimori and her peerage. Beside them stood Sona Citri and her peerage. Noble devils such as Riser Phoenix, his sister Revel, Lotia Astaroth, and Diodora Astaroth were also present. Itachi's gaze swept over the group before he spoke. Where are those two? Rias stepped forward. I asked Issei to call them for training, but they were nowhere to be found. Maybe they'll come later, she answered. Itachi nodded slightly. Then we will start. They'll have to bear the loss. Without another word, he began the session with chakra training. Itachi's voice was calm but commanding as he addressed them. Before we start, you must understand what chakra is. A few devils looked intrigued. Revel stepped forward, curiosity gleaming in her eyes. We devils use demonic energy, which allows us to wield almost all types of magic. Is chakra the same as magic? Itachi nodded but then clarified. It is similar, but fundamentally different. Chakra is the combination of physical energy and spiritual energy, accessed with precise control. Unlike your demonic power, which is drawn from your innate reserves, chakra must be cultivated through chakra pathways. Of course, he wasn't telling them the true principles of chakra. After all, demonic energy and chakra were two completely different systems. He raised a single hand and effortlessly formed a one-handed seal. Instantly, the air around him shifted. A crushing pressure filled the area as the ground beneath him cracked. A visible surge of blue energy swirled around him. Rias widened her eyes. It's different from mana, she whispered, mesmerized. It was her first time seeing chakra up close. She had seen Itachi use tailed beast cloak before, but that was uncontrolled chakra, making it impossible to sense its true properties. Sona adjusted her glasses, analyzing the energy. It feels refined. Unlike magic, which fluctuates, this is stable. Even more controlled than senjutsu, she noted before glancing at Kaneko, whose eyes were shining with fascination. Itachi continued, chakra allows me to enhance my physical abilities, control elements, and even wield illusions. Some devils looked intrigued, while others remained skeptical. At the back, Issei scratched his head. Sounds complicated, but if it makes me stronger, I wanna learn it. Didrake's voice echoed in his mind. Boy, this could be useful. Chakra is different from demonic energy, so if you master it, you can use magic. I can assist in manipulating it. Itachi glanced at Issei and Kaneko, his Sharingan glowing slightly as he analyzed them. Among you, I suspect only a few might be able to use it. His eyes settled on them. You, Kaneko, and you, Issei. With Didrake's help, you may be able to extract some chakra. Itachi then passed his chakra to all of them to give them feel of it. Kaneko was the first one to get it. I already use senjutsu, and this energy is kinda similar. She sat down, closing her eyes as she focused. Issei clenched his fists, determination burning in his eyes. Alright, Didrake, help me out here. Soon, the others followed. For the next 4 hours, no one spoke. They were all focused on sensing and extracting chakra. After such a long time a faint ember of chakra flickered around Issei's body, though it was unstable. Itachi observed carefully. Surprisingly, Kaneko was the next to succeed, managing to extract a small amount of chakra. Itachi gave a nod of approval. Not bad, but this is only the beginning. Since most of you cannot use chakra, we will move to combat training. Itachi turned to the group. Your demonic power will not help you today. Your first lesson is combat, without magic, without immortality, without teleportation. Pure skill. A murmur ran through the crowd. Riser scoffed. You expect devils to fight without our power? Ridiculous. Itachi didn't respond. Instead, he vanished. Before anyone could react, he reappeared behind Riser, striking his knee with a precise kick. Riser stumbled, his regeneration failing to activate for some reason as his leg was dislocated. Itachi's calm voice rang out. Did you forget the beating and humiliation you suffered a few days ago? Riser's face turned red with shame. Ignoring him, Itachi looked at Kiba. Kiba, be prepared. Kiba immediately shifted into a fighting stance and summoned his sword. Itachi moved like a ghost, appearing before Kiba and blocking his sword with just 2 fingers. Akeno teleported behind Itachi and attempted to use lightning, but before she could react, another Itachi was behind her, pressing a kunai to her throat. The devils froze in shock. Your power has made you arrogant, Itachi said. Strength is not determined by raw power alone. True warriors master their bodies first, then their abilities. Sona, ever the strategist, spoke up. So you're saying we rely too much on our magic? Itachi nodded and smirked slightly. Yes, and your mental resistance is also too weak. Diodora frowned. What do you mean? Itachi's expression didn't change. What I mean is that you're already under my genjutsu. A collective gasp spread through the crowd because both Itachi suddenly dissolved into a flock of crows, vanishing from sight. Kaneko's eyes widened in shock. Then, the world around them shifted. Their bodies started to turn into paper. Rias' voice trembled. What? The sky darkened, and the sun transformed into a massive eye, staring down at them ominously. Just as panic began to set in, the illusion shattered. All of them collapsed onto the ground, trembling. As they looked around in terror, Itachi was nowhere to be seen. Then, they heard his voice. I'm right here. They turned towards the sound. And their jaws dropped. Itachi was sitting on a chair, his legs crossed, his face bored as if nothing had happened. Unfinished deal 2. Sona was the first to rise, her face showing traces of fear as she looked around the area. Did you sit there the whole time? She demanded, her voice carrying a slight tremor. Everyone froze, staring at her as if she had lost her mind. There was a reason for her question, and Latia was the first to catch on. Look around you, she instructed, her tone sharp and authoritative. Their gazes shifted to their surroundings, and their expressions hardened in shock. What in the world are you all surprised by? Issei asked, scratching his head in confusion. Look at the ground, it's untouched. With all that chakra training and the sheer amount of chakra Itachi was exuding, the terrain should have been destroyed. Yet, it's in perfect condition, Didrake's voice echoed in Issei's mind. Realization struck Issei like a bolt of lightning, and a chill ran down his spine. That meant, then, all that training was an illusion. Issei muttered in disbelief. Itachi, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. I was waiting for the latecomers, he said, his voice calm and emotionless. Silence fell upon the group, broken only by the sound of approaching footsteps. All eyes turned toward 2 figures clad in battle armor, Zenobia and Irina. I'm sorry, Zenobia dreamed of Itachi all night, so she overslept. Irina announced cheerfully. Zenobia's face turned crimson. What are you saying? I was thinking about the stolen fragments of Excalibur. She protested, flustered. Irina simply laughed, clearly enjoying teasing her friend. Enough. You two, get in line, Itachi commanded, his tone leaving no room for argument. The 2 girls quickly obeyed. Itachi turned his gaze toward the devils, particularly the noble-born high-class devils who were still reeling from the revelation. Now, he said, his Sharingan glinting menacingly. We will begin the real training, so prepare yourselves. With effortless grace, he formed hand seals and exhaled a massive fireball jutsu. The inferno roared forward, its heat intense, but its speed was slower than usual, giving them time to react. Barriers were hastily erected, successfully deflecting the attack. This was their wake-up call. Itachi's eyes shifted, his Sharingan evolving into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, come at me. All of you. A brief hesitation filled the air before Rias gritted her teeth. Fine, everyone, attack, she commanded. Kiba was the first to move, his sword slicing through the air at speeds beyond the vision of inexperienced eyes. Itachi sidestepped effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. A well-placed counter with his kunai sent Kiba stumbling backward. Akeno followed immediately, summoning a powerful surge of lightning. But before her attack could connect, Itachi's body exploded into a flock of crows. The birds scattered into the air, reforming behind her in an instant. Before Akeno could react, Itachi smoothly flipped her onto the ground with a swift motion. Sona's peerage launched a coordinated assault, using calculated strategies to trap him. Yet, Itachi weaved through their attacks with unsettling ease, as if he already knew their every move. Then, Saji spotted an opening. His absorption line shot forward, wrapping around Itachi's arm. A triumphant grin spread across his face. "I got you," Saji cried out. But then, "Wait, what? Why am I the one trapped?" Issei's panicked voice rang out. The illusion shattered, revealing the truth. Saji had inadvertently trapped Issei instead of Itachi. "Damn it, Saji," Issei groaned in frustration. Riser, who had been watching with growing irritation, finally lost his patience. His golden flames surged as he activated his Phoenix avatar, his body engulfed in roaring fire. "Enough of this. Burn, damn you," Riser thundered, charging at Itachi like a fiery comet. Just as he was about to land his strike, a strange purple mist appeared before Itachi. The moment Riser made contact with it, his trajectory warped violently. A split second later, boom, Riser was flung sideways with monstrous force, crashing into the ground with an explosion so immense that if it was school ground then the entire school would have been obliterated. Stunned silence followed. Latia whispered in awe, her eyes wide with disbelief. What just happened? All she had seen was Riser charge at Itachi, the sudden appearance of that weird purple mist, and then, Riser being launched as if by some invisible force. Even Diodora, who had been quietly observing, looked shaken. His gaze darted between Itachi and the spot where the mist had appeared. He knew what it was. He just didn't want to believe it. Itachi remained unshaken, standing amidst the dazed warriors. His Sharingan pulsed menacingly. Unfinished deal 3. Looks like the so-called kings of the peerages are just figureheads, like the king in chess, standing still while its pieces bleed and fall, too weak to do anything but watch. That single statement struck deep. Rias clenched her fists, her pride wounded. "You are wrong," she roared as her crimson aura erupted around her. A dense sphere of pure destruction energy formed in her hands. "Let's see if you're still smug after this." Sona, her pride as a tactician and a noble devil also wounded, swiftly cast multiple water blades. Their sharp edges glistened as they shot toward Itachi like homing missiles. As the attacks closed in, Itachi remained still. A trail of blood seeped down his cheek. Amaterasu. It was the first time he had spoken the name of his black flames in public. Black flames erupted from nowhere, swallowing the incoming attacks with ease. The water blades evaporated instantly, steam hissing into the air, while the crimson sphere of destruction was consumed entirely by the inextinguishable fire. Akeno's eyes widened in shock. That name, it sounds familiar. Diodora, the silent one, finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's the name of the chief god of Japan, Amaterasu." Itachi turned his head toward him, a hint of amusement in his gaze. "Oh, so you finally decided to speak. For a moment, I thought you were mute." A vein bulged on Diodora's forehead. No one had ever talked to him like this, but what made it worse was Itachi's completely emotionless expression. It was clear he wasn't even trying to mock him. Somehow, that only deepened the humiliation. Meanwhile, Riser, who had recovered from his previous fall, growled in frustration. Flames flared around him once more as he glanced at the others. "Enough of this. We need to fight together." Sona adjusted her glasses. "That's the point of this fight. We need to stop letting him play with us and strike with a coordinated strategy." Rias scoffed. "Then I should take the lead." Sona frowned. "Why should you take the lead? I have better strategic capabilities." Itachi watched the argument unfold with mild amusement. Even when faced with an overwhelming opponent, they were still bickering over leadership. He was not a teacher in any sense, and he himself didn't know what he was doing, so them making assumptions was good for him. He let out a light chuckle, thinking about this, and as attention fell on him, he covered it up. "Fascinating," he murmured before shaking his head. "But let me be honest. Even if you all attack me at once, your efforts will be meaningless. Firstly, I will not be able to give equal attention to all of you, and secondly..." He was interrupted by Rias. Rias narrowed her eyes. "Are you afraid? Afraid of fighting 6 high-class devils at once?" Latia nodded. "Itachi is strong, but even if he's an ultimate class fighter, Facing 6 high-class devils together with the peerages of Rias and Sona will be troublesome, even for him. Itachi closed his eyes briefly before exhaling. Then, his gaze hardened. He was thinking about giving them light training, but looks like they want some kind of punishment. His Sharingan spun wildly. Yes, it would truly be troubling for me. If you all attacked at once. At those words, confidence surged in the devils. The lingering fear of his illusions was replaced by pride. But then, a sudden, eerie silence fell upon the training ground. Unfinished deal 4. Itachi raised his head and spoke in a calm yet chilling tone. Teaching so many people at once will be really hard, even for me, as I will not be able to give equal attention to all of you. Especially the 6 high-class devils, Itachi said, looking at Rias, Sona, Riser, Latia, Revel, and Diodora. All 6 of them shivered for some reason when his eyes fell on them. You are right, it will be hard for you to teach all of us together, Akeno said, and her friends nodded. Even if you focus only on the high-class noble devils, it will be hard for you to give equal attention to all of us, Sona spoke up. You are right, the ratio of 1:6 is not practical for teaching nobles like you, so to make it even, how about I change it to 36 against 6? A wave of confusion spread through the group. 36, Rias whispered, puzzled. Then, boom, 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 plumes of white smoke exploded across the ground, covering the area in an instant. The sheer force of the technique sent gusts of wind rippling outward. As the smoke cleared, the devil's eyes widened in disbelief. 36 Itachis stood before them. All identical, all emotionless, all radiating the same terrifying presence. Kiba's demonic sword slipped from his grip, clattering against the ground. His fingers trembled. Is this a joke? Zenovia's face turned pale. What the hell is this? Cloning magic. Don't tell me 6 clones will fight with one single high-class devil, Revel said in fear. Riser, beside her, spoke up in panic. What? I don't even have my peerage. How can I? Riser was unable to finish his words as the Itachis moved in perfect synchronization, each slowly taking position around the devils, encircling them. A suffocating silence filled the air before Itachi spoke again, his tone eerily calm. One final question. He slowly folded his hands, and as if mirroring his movement, the clones did the same. Their bodies began glowing with an ominous red aura. Would you prefer them to fight as they are, or should I let them use their full power? Before anyone could react, the glow intensified. Boom, skeletal structures began to form around each Itachi. First, rib cages materialized, then spines, arms, and gradually, massive humanoid figures took shape. The air grew thick with an oppressive, overwhelming power. 36 third-stage Susanoo warriors stood tall, towering over the battlefield. The sight alone was enough to paralyze even the most fearless warriors. Sona's breath hitched. Impossible. Diodora took an unconscious step back, his confidence shattering. This is madness. Rias, for the first time, felt true fear clawing at her chest. Is this a power a human should have? Her eyes began to shine with a different emotion, possessiveness. She wanted him in her peerage at any cost. Riser clenched his fists, his flames flickering weakly in comparison to the monstrous figures before him. This is the same armor he used against Father, Revel whispered, her voice laced with fear. Asterisk. Author's note, I was planning to have Itachi use the sacred gears he got from Great Red, but after some self-reflection on my chapter update rate, I decided not to stretch the chapter further. This chapter might feel a bit cringe, but bear with me. The reason for creating such a scene is simple. To show just how strong Itachi really is, and to create maximum shock value later when they see him struggle against his brother. Believe me, there's going to be a lot of drama. Also, let me know how you felt while reading this chapter. Your feedback will definitely help me in future chapters. Alright, good day to all of you. Unfinished deal. Failed teacher. Riser was the first one to move, having the highest destructive power in the group for now. He transformed into his phoenix form and rushed forward, flames blazing around him. Cover me, he shouted, but before anyone could even react. Slap. The sound echoed across the battlefield as one of Itachi's Susanoo slapped Riser's phoenix avatar midair. Ag. Riser screamed as he was sent flying, crashing into a stone pillar. His flames sputtered weakly before dying out. Too slow, one of the Itachi clones said coldly. Seeing how easily Riser was again knocked down, everyone watching swallowed their saliva. In this timeline, Riser had never lost to Issei, he hadn't even fought the rating game with Rias, so his reputation in the devil world was still sky high. After some time, Across the field, Ravel was on her knees, coughing blood. Her clothes were scorched, sweat pouring down her face as she muttered. How can he move so fast? Diodora tried to cast a barrier, but one swing from a Susanoo blade shattered it effortlessly, sending him crashing into the ground with a grunt of pain. Sona gritted her teeth, desperately trying to reform her defense spell, only for another Itachi to flicker behind her and land a chakra-infused punch on her back, knocking her flat. What? This is cheating, she mumbled, dazed, after realizing that Itachi had used a clone without a Susanoo to attack her. Rias, panting heavily, was the only one still standing, thanks to Issei's and Ice's support. She raised her hand, her aura flaring, preparing to release a blast of the power of destruction. Boost, boost, boost. Issei's boosted gear echoed, increasing her power exponentially. Even an ultimate class being would suffer damage if this attack connected. The crimson ball of destruction surged forward and struck the Susanoo. Boom! The explosion shook the entire field, creating shockwaves in every direction. As the smoke cleared, everyone held their breath. The Susanoo that was hit was heavily damaged. Its right arm and shoulder were melted, its armor cracked and glowing red hot, but then the damage began to regenerate. No fair, not only do you have such powerful armor, but it can also regenerate. Rias hissed, her knees giving out beneath her. She collapsed to the ground as the Susanoo raised its sword over her. Issei, seeing her in danger, rushed forward protectively, placing himself in front of her. Crack! The Susanoo's sword struck him, sending him flying like a bug. He crashed to the ground and didn't move, unconscious. At the same time the clones all vanished in a puff of smoke. Silence. From the ruins at the edge of the training field, Akeno stumbled forward. Her body trembled, covered in wounds and blood, her once graceful posture ruined by exhaustion. Her friends immediately rushed to her side, calling her name in worry. Even Itachi's eyes flickered with a hint of concern. She looked up at him, her face bloodied but smiling. What was that supposed to be? She asked, her breath ragged. Training, Itachi said flatly. That wasn't training. Akeno's smile widened, her cheeks turning red. You didn't teach us anything. You just beat us black and blue. Not that I'm complaining, she whispered under her breath before collapsing. Rias barely caught her in time. Itachi blinked, unsure how to respond. Another pervert, Kaneko muttered, shaking her head. Thankfully Issei was out cold, otherwise, he would be really jealous. Her eyes flicked to Issei, who lay face down in the dirt, unmoving. His boosted gear was still smoking, and even Diedreg had gone completely silent. Then, all right, everyone, listen to me, Itachi said, his voice quiet but commanding. A heavy silence followed as everyone turned toward him. He let out a rare sigh. She's right, he admitted, glancing at Akeno's unconscious form. I didn't teach you anything, except for Issei and Kaneko, who could actually handle chakra. The rest of you, he looked around at the battered group, you weren't ready. Sona glared at him, anger and irritation burning in her eyes. Then what was the point of this? Just to humiliate us? Itachi looked up at the sky. No, he said calmly. To show you the reality of where you stand. The battlefield doesn't care about your bloodline, or your status in the underworld. The wind rustled the leaves around them. Besides, he added, cracking his neck, I'm not a teacher. I'm a fighter, so let's stop pretending this is about education. Your leaders knew this from the start. Everyone looked down at his words, the truth hitting harder than his attacks. All right then, let's meet again tomorrow, Itachi said, and in the next moment, his body dissolved into multiple crows that flew off into the sky, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Konoha village. Itachi sat atop the Hokage seat, his posture calm, fingers interlocked. Before him knelt Kokobile, one of the fallen angels' leaders. His eyes were blank, his body trembling, trapped within a powerful genjutsu. After a few more days of training, maybe 2 more, if everything goes smoothly, I'll set you free, Itachi muttered to himself. 2 days later. Every bone in my body hurts, Issei groaned, lying on the infirmary bed as Asia healed him with a gentle light. You don't need to push yourself so far, Asia said softly, worry in her voice as her hands glowed over his injuries. It's not like I wanted to push myself this hard, but that idiot Itachi kept targeting me. Issei snapped, his tone laced with frustration and lingering pain. He didn't target you, Kiba interjected from the bed next to him, his voice calm. He, too, was covered in bruises. It's just that you've been improving faster than anyone else. Issei blinked, then groaned again. So I'm getting beat up for being too talented? That's just unfair. A sudden burst of laughter echoed from the doorway. They all turned to see Riser Phoenix standing there, fully healed, with Revel beside him. Ha ha ha, you, talented. That's hilarious, Issei, Riser chuckled mockingly. If not for your secret gear you will be weakest devil of all time. Issei's eye twitched. What are you doing here, Riser? Yeah, why are you here? Kaneko asked coldly from her corner of the room, her golden eyes narrowed. Riser smiled smugly. I came to check on the results of Itachi's little, private lesson. And to laugh a bit, I suppose. Especially when I hear someone calling himself talented. Issei stood up on the bed, fists clenched. You looking for a fight, roasted chicken? Calm down, I'm not here to fight, Riser said, raising his hands. Actually, I wanted to ask you something, about chakra. Everyone stared at him, surprised. You, want to learn chakra? Issei asked, suspicious. Riser nodded, more serious now. I've tried, but I can't grasp it at all. You and Kaneko were the only ones able to use it, right? And even got private lessons from Itachi. So, if you're well enough, I'd like you to teach me. And why should we help you? Kaneko asked flatly, crossing her arms. Yeah, and we're not exactly recovered, if you haven't noticed, Issei added, pointing at his bruised chest. That's not a problem, Riser said casually, pulling something from his pocket. He tossed it toward Issei. Issei caught it, and his eyes widened. Phoenix tears. Use it, then teach me. Riser turned, to leave, but not before flashing his signature smirk. I am waiting in training ground. Next day, Itachi, Zenobia, and Irina walked side by side toward the training ground, the early morning sun shining through the trees. I'm so tired, Irina groaned, stretching her arms. Yesterday was rough. We couldn't even continue the holy sword search. Yeah, we were exhausted after training, Zenobia agreed, rubbing her neck. But today we'll pick up the investigation right after practice. Didn't we already speak to the Grand Priest about this? Irina asked. He said he'd send a replacement team. He did, Zenobia nodded. But there's still one member short. Until they arrive, we can continue the search on our own. Itachi, who had been silently walking ahead, finally spoke. You don't need to find it. Both girls stopped in their tracks, blinking in confusion. What do you mean? That sword is one of the church's most sacred relics, Irina said with concern. Itachi didn't reply. He simply raised his hand and pointed toward the training ground they had used the day before. To an ordinary eye, there was nothing unusual about the forest clearing. But to them, it was unmistakable. Layer upon layer of concealed barriers shimmered faintly around the training ground. That's. Zenovia's eyes widened. There are holy barriers, dozens of them, Irina whispered. Without another word, all three of them rushed toward the spot. Behind them, Itachi walked slowly, a faint smile playing on his lips. Finally, the time has come, he thought, as the forest wind stirred his cloak, cloud of war. The wind howled over the training ground. The air felt heavier, charged, like the sky itself was holding its breath. Rias Grimori stood at the front of the group, her peerage flanking her. Sona and her group were to the right, their gazes sharp and focused. Behind them stood Riser Phoenix and Revel. Diodora and his sister were also looking ahead with serious expressions. No one spoke. No one dared to. Rias's crimson eyes scanned the empty sky, her heart thudding. She couldn't explain the dread clawing at her chest, but it was real, overwhelmingly so. Around them, hundreds of fallen angel corpses lay motionless. Despite being low and mid-class, they could have caused serious injuries if not for Itachi's training. Then, it happened. A rift tore open in the sky. A deep, echoing crack split the silence like a death knell. Light spilled forth from the crack. From the void emerged dozens of black-winged figures, fallen angels, armed and grinning like hyenas before a hunt. After the light died down, and at the center of it all, he appeared. Kokobile, seated on a floating throne of black obsidian, he hovered high above the battlefield, arms crossed, his dark wings spread wide behind him like a curtain of night. His eyes glowed crimson, pulsing with twisted amusement. So these are the noble high-class devils. Kokobile's voice thundered across the courtyard, laced with mockery and malice. Even after knowing there would be another attack from the fallen angels, you did not inform your brothers and sisters. Truly, the underworld has fallen, even in terms of having intelligent devils. Riser's jaw clenched. TCH. The way he looks down on us. Revel placed a calming hand on her brother's arm, but her own expression was tight. She could feel it too, the difference. This wasn't just posturing. Kokubile meant war. Beside Rias, Akino's body trembled slightly. Not from fear, but anticipation. Because of her past, she wanted to kill as many fallen as possible, despite Kokubile's presence, which was suffocating. Rias, he's truly trying to ignite a war, she whispered. I know, Rias replied, her voice low but steady. Sona adjusted her glasses, her eyes never leaving the throne in the sky. We all know that. He's already prepared for battle. He didn't come to negotiate. We have to assume this is a full-scale attack on devils. So many fallen angels, Tsubaki murmured, stepping protectively in front of Sona. They outnumber us. Gasper, trembling behind Kiba, let out a whimper. I don't think I can. He's too scary. Gasper. Rias turned, her voice gentle but firm. You don't have to fight, but we need you to be ready. We need your power. The boy gulped, nodding weakly. Meanwhile, Kiba clenched his sword. He has that sword. I have to destroy it, Kiba said, to which everyone looked at Kokubile again, and there it was. The strongest holy sword, Excalibur. Their faces darkened. They never thought that this sword would appear again. Akino took a step forward, lightning crackling at her fingertips. We will be the one who will break it again. Akino said to Kiba, to which he nodded with a smile. Kokubile stood from his throne, his wings stretching as if shaking off years of stillness. His army of fallen moved in unison, spreading out in the air like vultures ready to swoop. Come then, show me what Lucifer's sister amounts to, he said, locking eyes with Rias.